Alright, so today we're going to be doing a dungeon crawl stone soup tutorial. I've posted a good amount of videos of me playing this game, and this game is not exactly friendly to new players, so if people want to play, after watching my videos or just want to get into the game in general, this will kind of be a crash course on how to play the game. I'm going to be teaching how to play the game with just the keyboard. I started playing the game when I was learning myself. I used the mouse just because it's what you're used to, but I can tell you that playing this game with the keyboard is way faster and it's way more fun. As weird as that sounds to say that using the keyboard is more fun than the mouse, it really is. Ever since I learned how to play this game with nothing but the keyboard, I'm addicted to it. So this is how I'm going to be teaching the game. First thing is, when you're playing the game, when you go to get the game, everybody should know by now, you just go to, just Google Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. It'll be the first thing that pops up. Now, there's two ways you can play. You can either play online, where basically you play the same game, except you do it over the internet. People can watch you. They can come into your game and watch you. Like right here, these are all people that are currently playing. I can click on one of these guys, and just watch them play basically, and type to them and talk to them. Or I can play online and just allow people to join my game. You are subject to lag if the server's far away, but if you have decent internet, that's not a problem. And the servers save all your games, so you don't have to worry about losing anything. And your stats are recorded on their website. You can see how you did, and other people can too. That's not how I play. I just like the speed of playing on my own computer, and I don't know. I have my own my own list of characters that have died and basically over here, and I just kind of like adding to this list to see where I've gotten. So if you're gonna play that way, that's great. You don't have to do anything. You just play online now, make a username, and you can start playing. The other way to do it is to just download it for Windows, and you want to make sure that you go and you download the one that says Tiles. Or just hit Windows Installer, this button right here, click that, and then install the game, and you'll be good to go. And then once you open it, you'll be taken to here. Let's just name tutorial. Then you're going to just hit Dungeon Crawl to make a new character. It's going to give you a list of characters, obviously. Now, you can, these commands right here, they give you kind of an idea of what some things you can do. You can random a character, random a species, and you can also pick background first if I hit space. Basically, I'm going to pick one of these races, and then it's going to let me pick a background. The races are more determining of how you're going to play than your background, which is kind of backwards from most games, because most games you figure, I'm just going to pick a hunter, and I'm going to play the whole game as a hunter. But really, it's your race is what determines how you're going to play, because they determine what you're skilled at, and just basically how you're going to level up in general. So now, all of these races are not, species, races, whatever, they're not equally balanced. Some of these are very hard to play in comparison to some of them, which are very easy to play. For example, the mummy is one of the ones. He's basically a challenge race where you play him if you want an exceptional challenge. Same thing with maybe the octopodes, although they're pretty cool. I kind of like playing them. But anyway, to start off, I recommend the easiest race, which would be the Minotaur. And then starting as the Berserker. Now, what's highlighted in white is obviously classes that would be good with your race, your starting race. So that's what you would want to pick generally. You don't have to; you can pick anything, but basically your skills are more apt to these races. Now, the ones that are in the zealot category, these three start with a god already. Where normally you have to run around the map and find a god, these three start with gods. And Trog is the Berserker's god, and he's basically the all-in melee fighter, go ape shit, and that's him. So the Minotaur also is the same style. He's got a lot of things that complement a melee a melee build. So if you want to start learning, I recommend playing a Minotaur Berserker. It's by far the easiest race and class to get into. Same thing with the weapons. Anything in white is what you'd want to go with, because the Minotaur is good with maces, axes, spears, and swords. I'm just going to go with a mace. Axes, I'll go with mace. Alright. And don't be too hung up on picking one of those, because you will most likely change depending on what you pick up in the dungeon. Alright, so starting out, in the description here, I'm going to leave my list of controls. This game has a lot of controls. A lot of them you use, and a lot of them I don't use, or some I use more rarely. So the ones that I use constantly to play with nothing but the keyboard is right here. I'm going to put this in the description, and I recommend you guys just selecting it all in the description, copying it, and pasting it to a notepad and saving it, so you don't have to keep coming back to this video, and you just have like your own control list whenever you need it. They're numbered, they're in order basically from what's most important and which you're going to use the most. So the ones up top you're going to use more than the ones like say down here. So we'll start with that. So the first thing is the turn. You're going to be moving with your numpad. So the numbers that are all the way on the right side of your keyboard. Your first thing you're going to do is make sure that NUMLOCK is turned off. Otherwise, the numpad won't work for what we're trying to do. So just toggle NUMLOCK off. It's actually right above the numpad. All the numbers above the 7 key actually. Turn that off. This allows you now to move with 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 6. And you can do diagonally, and it's pretty self-explanatory. The number 5 in the middle will allow you to wait 1 turn, which I'll explain later. You can see in the top right of the screen the time is increasing. That's because I'm hitting the 5 key and 1 turn is passing. So if you want to attack, in this game, all you have to do is run into an enemy. Once you see an enemy, like here, all I have to do is walk into him, and I will automatically attack. So I'm going to step close to him, right here, and now he got a free attack on me. You can see on the bottom left, I moved into him, and he shouted, and then he attacked me and missed me. Now, if I press down into him, if I move into him, my character's automatically going to attack him. And it's going to tell me what happens. So the goblin swung at me. Oh no, he didn't. I missed the goblin, and then as a Minotaur, I also have a headbutt attack, which is why they're so good at melee, because they basically get extra attacks. And that also missed, and then the goblin actually hit me. So then I just keep doing that, and you can read all the text if you want. But like right there, I did damage, dropped him down to half HP. You can see by the bar under his icon, and I can just keep doing that until he dies. Now here, a kobold just threw a rock at me, as you can. Was it a kobold? Yes, a kobold threw a stone. The stone hit me. Okay, but then I killed him. Then I can just move into the kobold, kill him, and move into the goblin. Now, as a Minotaur Berserker, you're gonna have a pretty easy time with a lot of the enemies. You can just walk right into them, and you're good. So to pick up items, you're gonna hit. So like you can see, for example, like the stones that he was throwing, I could pick them up. I'm not going to pick those up unless I was going to have like a slingshot or something. A dagger, nah, because the mace is stronger than the dagger. We don't want any of that stuff. So that's pretty much the basics of just melee combat. It's actually pretty simple. You just move in and just run into him, and you'll eventually kill him. Now, if I'm low on HP like this, if I hit the number 5 and not on the numpad. Do not use number 5 on the numpad. Use the number 5 that's above the letter T, and that will rest. It will heal you. You'll rest until you're at full HP, or unless something happens in the meantime. So I'm gonna hit 5. Nothing came up, and I just completely restored. If I just hit 5, that works, but you're gonna have to press 5 like 100 times before you fully heal. So just press the number 5 above the T. That's how you fully heal. If an enemy approaches you while you're doing that, it'll just stop your healing and say, "Hey, look, there's an enemy here. What do you want to do?" And then you just react from there. Now, as you're walking around a dungeon doing all this, you're gonna get hungry eventually. There's hunger in this game, so every time you kill something, sometimes they'll drop a corpse. And what you'll generally want to do, unless you have a bunch of food already, is you're gonna want to walk over it and on top of the corpse. And if I hit C, lowercase c as in Charlie, it's called, like, stands for like chop. I'll chop him up and get his flesh basically. Now I have his food. Now I can't eat his food. I can't eat flesh unless I'm hungry. Like right now I'm not hungry. I'll show you when that comes up. But as you walk around, your flesh will rot away. It's a short-term thing. It's not like you can just have like a massive stash. But just get in the habit of chopping up the corpses like this as you cross them. And there I leveled up. Nothing specifically happened there. Sometimes your stats will increase. If you look in the top right, I have 21 strength, 4 intelligence, and 9 dexterity. Sometimes those will increase, but nothing happened here. So now I'm not gonna chop this corpse up yet. I'm just gonna kill these rats first because it takes time to chop the corpse up. So if I chop the corpse up while there's enemies around, they will be getting free hits on me while I'm taking time to chop the corpse basically. So here I'll just chop this, and I gain 2 chunks of rat flesh. Pretty simple. I can just keep doing that, chop the corpse, and keep doing that. And if you walk into a door, it automatically opens. There I picked up beef jerky. So that's pretty much the basics. Here's a potion. Now to go into now that's the long way of doing everything. I can do this and I can walk around this dungeon. You can see my mini map on the right of like what I've explored and all that good stuff. But there's easier way to do things. If you press O, as in like Oprah, it's an auto explorer, and your character will automatically run around and explore every tile that you haven't explored yet on this map. And he'll stop whenever he sees an enemy or an important item or anything, and then he'll let you decide what you want to do with it. That's generally how you're going to be moving in this game. And when you watch my videos, I'm like darting all over the map, but it's just auto explorer doing its thing. I'm letting it do all the walking, and then when something important comes up, I handle it from there. So I just press O, and then I started exploring, but then this enemy came into play, so now I have to fight it. Now I could walk over to him and start hitting him like I have been doing, or there's also something called auto combat. And if you press the tab button, which is right next to the Q key, that will auto fight for you in melee. Your character will walk towards the closest enemy and start hitting the enemy every time you press tab. So if I just keep hitting tab, I press tab, he moves closer, tab moves closer, tab moves closer. Now that I'm in range, if I press tab, he's going to start hitting him, and I can just keep pressing tab until he dies. Easy enough, right? So you just keep. So then the whole game, early game, or most of the early game becomes just pressing O, finding an enemy, and then start pressing tab until you kill him, just like that. And then there, I got some level ups. I pressed O. I found 2 enemies. I just keep pressing tab. I kill both of them. I keep pressing O. I kill both of them. Keep pressing tab. Kill both of them. Keep pressing tab. Tab. Okay, now here I leveled up. I'm level 3. I get the option to increase strength, intelligence, or dexterity. So depending on what you're playing, I'm playing like a melee heavy brute. So I'm just going to hit S for strength. And now my strength is 22. And I can just keep pressing tab. Right? Bam. Now, that sounds great, right? This game just is super easy, right? Well, that's how you're going to be doing most of your combat. But I will guarantee you that if you just walk around and do nothing but press auto explore and tab, you will die. And you'll die a lot, and that's just how it is. I mean, you're going to die a lot anyway. It's kind of the name of the game. Especially starting out, you have to learn a lot of just like how to approach situations. But just don't get into the habit of of tabbing through everything. Like, if there's an enemy you've never seen before, just take a second and kind of feel the situation out before you just start tabbing. Because that's how, even me to this day, I get into the habit of just pressing tab a lot, just trying to run through the game, and then your character's just auto fighting, and all of a sudden you're dead because you were just pressing tab and your character just keeps fighting, and then it's too late. So just a little tip. Now, so here I've explored the first level of the dungeon by pressing O. There's nothing else I can explore. So now if you look on the top right, it tells me that I'm in the dungeon, and then I'm on dungeon level 1. So there's a couple of things I could do. I could walk over to one of the steps leading down. If you look at my mini map, those are the purple dots. So this one over here is a one-way. This little brown step is like it's an escape hatch. Generally, do never go down those things because they are death sentences. You could drop into anything, and then you can't get back up. So always go down a regular set of steps. So I could walk over, and then to walk down steps, if you look next to your M key, M as in Mary, you have your not parentheses. I don't know what the fuck to call them. The little sideways triangles. And one of them, so to access them, you have to hold Shift, and you just press them. And then if you see, it's telling me if I press the left one, or the one that's pointing to the left, it says I can't go up here. So that's how you walk up steps. The one to the right of that is how you walk down steps. So I go on top of the steps, and I hold Shift, and I press the one that's pointing to the right, and that walks me down steps. And now there's enemies here, so I can just tab, kill him. Or I can walk into him. I don't have to tab, because in this situation there was 2 enemies. So if I want to kill one that I think is more threatening first, don't hit tab. Walk in the direction of that enemy so you start hitting that enemy. So here I'm just going to kill him, and that's done. Now here you can see I'm hungry. So if I have food, I can hit E as in echo for eating food. Now you'll see it'll bring up a menu and says, okay, well, what do you want to eat? This is what you have. So if I press C, C is for my bread rations. I have 2 of them. I could eat one of those, or I can press H and eat a piece of beef jerky, and that would work. But you want to save your food whenever possible, especially when there's enemies around that you can just eat. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to try to kill some enemies and get their corpses, like that. I killed the python. I got his corpse. I'm going to kill the rat. I got his corpse. So now I'm just going to walk over to the rat, hit C for chop. I got his chunk of flesh. Hit C for the python, and I got 2 chunks of flesh from him. So now when I press E, remember how I said you can only eat when you're hungry? You can only eat flesh when you're hungry, raw flesh. Well, now that you can see on the top right where it says that I'm hungry, so I'm just going to hit E, and now it's going to say, okay, do you want to eat one of your chunks of flesh? And you just hit Y for yes. Bam. Now I've eaten one of my, I've eaten 2 chunks of flesh to curb my hunger. I still have 1 left, but if I hit E, it's not gonna. It shows up on my menu, but it's not gonna let me eat it because I'm not hungry enough to eat that. I could, however, eat one of my beef jerky and my bread rations because they're regular food. I can eat them whenever. And lucky for us, there's a bunch of food right here. Now, you see how these items are outlined in green? That means that when my Auto Explorer, when I press O, it's automatically gonna pick them up. Now, I could just walk over them, and then it'll also auto pick them up. So I can just walk over to it, and you can see my guy automatically picks it up. Or if I press O, he'll also automatically pick them up. He does not auto pick up like armor and weapons, because there's a lot of junk armor and weapons in this game that you won't use. So you just got to kind of be on the eye, like as you pass them. You'll learn as you go what's worth picking up and what's not. I mean, I could go in for a long time. This is meant to be just a basics video. I'll go into the specifics in another video. But like here, for example, this is a rune dagger. That whenever you see it in blue, that means that it's enchanted in some way. I don't know how it's enchanted. There's only one way to find out, and that's by equipping. Well, there's 2 ways. I can equip it, or I can use a scroll of identify. So here, if there's an item you want to pick up that is not auto picked up with that green border, you just walk over to it on top of it, and you hit G for grab, and you'll pick it up just like that. So now it's in my inventory. Well, now I'm like, okay, well, I want to know what kind of enchantment it has, because it could be better than this mace I'm wearing. I'm using. So I go to W for wield. So it's going to say, okay, wield which item? I want to wield P for the rune dagger. And it's a +2 dagger of flaming, which is actually better than my mace. Now, how do I know that? I just know. If you can examine the items, if I press I for inventory, this is my whole inventory, everything that I have. Now, if I press P for that dagger, it's going to explain to me everything about this dagger. And if you look, it says my accuracy is +6 and my damage is 4 and my attack delay is 1.0. Now the numbers to look out for are base accuracy and base damage. Base attack delay is how fast you attack, basically. And then if I look at the mace, it's a +3 accuracy and an 8 damage. So this has more accuracy and 4 less damage, but the flaming on it is really good. I know that it's good, and it's better to me than the extra 4 damage from this. And the mace attacks a little slower too. This is not going to be a permanent weapon. It's just something that is better than what I'm using right now. So here, same thing. I can just keep killing everything. we have what we have here is some shrines to gods. So this is a shrine. This is the stormy altar of Kozlal. This is the altar of the Shining One. Now, if I go over to any one of these altars and hit P for pray, I can have the option to join the religion. And I can see, like, so let me just do it. So I hit P for pray, and it's going to tell me about this god, and like kind of a rough description. Now, on the bottom of this screen, you can see it tells me right click, overview, powers, and wrath. It also has an exclamation point next to it. So that's telling me if I press the exclamation, hold shift and press 1, it's going to give me different things. It's going to say, okay, now I'm looking at its powers. So this is telling me what this god is going to allow me to do. It'll also tell me what he likes and how to please him. And it says he likes it when we kill living beings, when we kill the undead or demons, or we kill holy beings. So basically for this god, all we have to do is kill stuff and he'll make us stronger. So he's pretty simple. I actually do recommend him for an early god. So I'm just going to hit a button that says, do you want to join? So I press Y for yes. It's saying, okay, you got to be uppercase. So hold shift, press Y. Now I have joined him. Simple as that. In this case, real quick, so you see these items here. They have this little icon on the very bottom left of the square. It's like it's showing me that there's more than one item here. And if I hover over it, it's telling me that there's a lot of items here, and it can't display them all. But if I hit G for grab, it's not going to pick up every single item. It's going to give me a menu about what I want to pick up. So it's like, okay, well here's the items that are here. Do you want to pick any? So if I wanted to grab the club and the short sword, for example, I would just press A and B, and when I'm done, I just hit enter, and now I've picked them up. And at any point, if I want to drop items, I just hit D for drop, and I can drop the club and the short sword if I want. And that's pretty much inventory. The other thing is, so I'm hungry, so I'm just going to eat a piece of beef jerky here. The other thing is a big part of your character. So far we've seen like how to attack, what's the basics, how to just kill shit. You press O, you press tab, or you walk into enemies and they die, and it's pretty easy. Now, as far as customizing your character, this is where the game gets interesting. So if I press M, which is like for manage, M, this is a list of my skills. So the game is going to default, and it's going to pick skills to level up based on what I'm doing already. So because I've been fighting, I've been hitting with my mace, and I've been dodging some attacks, it's distributing my experience into these points automatically. You never want to do that, ever. You always want to level up, in general, 1 or 2 at a time, instead of leveling out, spread out, because otherwise, if you spread all your experience out, you'll never get anywhere. Whereas if you focus it all into 1 or 2, you'll jump that skill way up, and that'll have much better benefits than doing a lot at once. Now, to make it manual instead of automatic, you can see at the bottom, it's giving me some options again. It says, trainable skills, enhanced, base level, training cost, all this stuff. But the only one you gotta look at is where it says auto and manual mode. If you hit slash, I hit slash, now I'm in manual mode. So now what I can do is I can take off, if I hit A, I can unselect the ones that are highlighted. Now I have no skills training. So now if I want more health, what I can do is like fighting is, for example, fighting is basically your health. That's how much your health is. So if I press A, now 100% of my experience is being put into fighting, and right now my fighting is at level 4.6. You only get benefits when you actually reach the next level. The 0.6 is just telling me how far I have to go. So when I hit level 5, my HP will go up. When I hit 6, it'll go up again. The +2s and the +1s and the -1s, this is based on your race. So because I'm a Minotaur, my fighting aptitude is +2, which means I get more. When I put experience in it, I get a bonus based on that number. So if, for example, if I get 100 experience, if I'm putting it in fighting, I actually get like 125 experience, whereas if I put it into something like stealth, which is at -1, I only get like 90 experience. So the skills that have minuses on them are going to take you longer, even though you're getting the same amount of experience. And the skills that have bigger numbers are going to be a lot faster to train than the ones with negatives. And this is where your race comes into effect. Like all these pluses and minuses are based on being a Minotaur, which is why I said that even if you picked a fighter, I mean a spellcaster, well, Minotaurs, they all have minuses on their spellcasting, at least some of them, I think. So you're trying to put experience into a skill that's going to take you a lot longer to level up than if you just went fighting. So some races are more apt at spellcasting and melee than others. So as you level these up, you can come back here anytime. So I can come back and then say I get my fighting to level 8. I'm like, okay, well now I want to increase my damage with daggers, which are short blades. Oh, okay, well I'm going to put some points into short blades. And now the more that levels up, the more damage and the faster my attack will be with short blades. And armor and dodging, pretty self-explanatory. Spellcasting, if you're a spellcaster, I have a -4, so that's probably not going to happen. Invocations are like god abilities that I'll be using if you want them to have a better chance of succeeding. And stealth is if you walking around and enemies not noticing you. If you want to know more and 100% more detail about all of these, you just go to the wiki, the Dungeon Crawl wiki, and it will have everything you need to know. So if I'm like, okay, Dungeon Crawl, what does invocations do, and exactly like what does it benefit? The first thing that comes up is invocations on the Crawl wiki, and this will tell you everything you need to know about it. Invocation denotes how skillful your character is at beseeching a thing, and blah 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 blah. It also increases your max MP, blah blah, and it tells you everything. So any one of these skills, you can do that and figure out what it does. Like if I did stealth, which will have a much bigger page, I'm sure. Let's see, stealth. Yeah, like this stealth is huge. I mean, there's a lot of calculations, and if you want to figure out exactly how the game works, this is where you go. So if you have any questions about 100 like details, go to the wiki, type in what you want. I can guarantee you it's there. So that's pretty much your skills. As you level up, you just always want to keep an eye on this. You never want to just focus on one skill too much. I mean, generally you'll be switching between like 2 or 3 for most of the game. So here I'm just gonna do short blades for why not. Normally I probably wouldn't do that, but whatever. So other than that, I think so. We got stairs, auto explore. Let me look at my commands here and make sure I'm not missing anything. Range attacks, we'll go over that in another video. Cast a spell, different video. So potions and scrolls. So you're gonna find a lot of potions and scrolls in this game. And R is for reading scrolls, and you'll see a bunch of scrolls, which I don't know nothing about these. And if I press Q, which is for quaff potions, I have a bunch of potions that I have no idea what they do. Now, generally, you're just gonna read all these scrolls and see what they do. Once you've read them or quaffed the potion, you now know what it does for the rest of the game. But there's a scroll of identify that you can figure out, which you can use to identify potions and scrolls, without wasting them. So, and generally you're going to find a lot of scrolls of identify. So the first scrolls, whatever scroll you have the most number of, is probably scroll of identify. Not always, but most of the time. So that's generally which one I'll read first. So I'll read it. So that one was a scroll of immolation. Now, if you don't have identifies, then just feel free to read them all. So this one will say it's a scroll of enchant armor. And then what do you want to enchant? So I'll enchant this. So now it's, instead of a +0 animal skin, now it's a +1. So now my armor class went up by 1. Which you can see in my stat block at the top right, my AC was 2, now it's 3. And 8 armor class is how much, how hard you are to hit, basically. How much damage you take. EV is evasion, how hard you are to hit. Shields is how skilled you are with shields. XL is your experience level, and how much next is how much, and then everything else is self-explanatory. Same thing with potions. Potions are more dangerous than reading scrolls. Scrolls are not a big deal. You can read these and figure out what they are. And if you want to know more about them, I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory. If you're curious about them, then you can, like I said, go to the wiki. So this is an identify scroll. So now, when I get identify scrolls, I like to use them on potions, because potions are really good. A lot of potions are good emergency buttons if you get into a bad spot. So, and your potions, whatever number you have the highest of, is probably a healing potion. So I'm going to reveal E, so I don't waste it. And sure enough, it's a potion of curing. So now, if I go to Q, I know I have 3 potions of curing, and I didn't have to drink one of them and waste it to figure that out. but I'm out of scrolls of identify. So now I could quaff these potions to see what they are. So that one was a potion of degeneration, which decreased my dexterity by 4 points. I can quaff this potion. There was a potion of ambrosia, which means it confuses me, but it also heals me. And then that was a heal wounds, which is really good, which I didn't want to waste, but it is what it is. I mean, you have to do what you gotta do. So now when I walk around the dungeon and I pick them up, I'll automatically know what they are. I don't have to keep figuring it out. So you only have to do it once for each item and potion, and you always want to do that away from enemies, because a lot of those things, the scrolls and the potions, a lot of them are bad, and you don't want to be around enemies. Now, if you're in a bad spot and you're about to die, I mean, you just do what you do. Hopefully you get a potion of curing or something, and maybe you survive. But that's that. And the other thing is equipment. So if I just picked up some jewelry, and generally jewelry is always enchanted, like rings, and when I say jewelry, I'm talking about rings and, oh wow, what did I kill? Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm such an idiot. You never want to do this, ever, 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 ever. What I did was I forgot that I was a berserker and I was worshiping Trog. When I went to the altar and I started worshiping Kozlov, I forgot I was worshiping Trog and I had to abandon Trog. Now, whenever you abandon a god in this game, you almost never abandon a god in this game. I don't think I've ever done it because of this stuff like this. When you piss a god off, they will constantly do bad shit to you, like pretty much for the rest of the game. I mean, eventually it'll wear off, but not for a long time, and you'll have to deal with random shit like this. So I'm gonna die here because I pissed Trog off, and he just summoned a couple, like 3 black bears and 2 polar bears, and they're all enraged, and I'm gonna die in probably 1 turn. So don't ever do that. So here I'm just gonna try to fight one off, and I'm dead. You die. Simple as that. So don't do that. Let me go into. So this what I was trying to say about jewelry though is that if I the jewelry also is not revealed. Like all jewelry pretty much is enchanted, either good or bad, but you don't know what it does. But if I put it on, it's revealed to me what it is. And I can so generally when you get jewelry, you just hit Shift P for put on, and you just put on the jewelry you want. You can do one necklace and 2 rings, and you just put it on and see what it does. It'll tell you what kind of jewelry it is, and then once you reveal what it is, you can go to your inventory and select it, and it'll tell you, everything about it, like what that enchantment does or whatever. Now the downside of that is sometimes enchanted stuff is actually cursed, and then you can't take it off unless you read a scroll of remove curse. And if it's cursed, that usually has a bad effect. So there's always a risk. But generally you'll have a lot of scrolls of remove curse. Well, you at least have some. So it's not a big deal. Usually you can just put on jewelry and not worry about it. Same thing with enchanted weapons. Sometimes they can be cursed. But usually you'll have a remove curse to get rid of it. If not, well, that's a different story. So control-wise, let's make sure I got all that drop. I'll go over the yeah, so I think that's it. I think that's enough. That's pretty much enough to get you going. You've seen how to play a melee character. You can get really far if you just by hitting, by running up to things and just melee attacking them. You'd be surprised. I don't expect you guys to remember all the commands I was telling you. So like I said, just go to wherever I put it, in the description. Make sure you copy and paste this to a notepad. That way you have this, because this is pretty self-explanatory. Anything you want to do in this game is pretty much covered here, because this is every command that I use in the game. I never touch a mouse because I memorized all these commands. And you don't have to memorize them right away. Like I said, you're going to spend most of your time doing the same things over and over, like just meleeing people and putting on equipment, taking off equipment, looking at your inventory. And so it's really probably only like 10 letters you have to learn. But once you learn them, I'm telling you, this game it just opens up. Everything goes super fast, and it's just really fun. So just try that out. I'm going to make another video about a spellcaster. And I'm going to go into more of the nitty gritty about all the details. It's not going to be for everybody, because that's going to probably be a lot of talking, which I tend to do. But if you want to learn how to play a spellcaster, which is a lot more complicated than a melee guy, definitely watch that video. And I'll also go over some of these other commands that are a little advanced, like making macros, which is like customizing your keyboard layout, searching the dungeon for certain items, setting waypoints. That's all advanced stuff. You don't need any of that, but if you play through a melee character and you enjoy it, then I suggest you watch the next video to get the nitty gritty of really how to make it in this game. So, alright guys,